homesteading to prepping to common horse sense, we are College Hill Farm.
Welcome back to College Hill Farm. Well, the plowing's done. I've plowed up a 60 by 100 foot space out here, and I promised Crystal that this year I would cut down on the garden. I've got some health challenges, and she made me promise her. Well, I promised her. I am cutting down. Well, anyway, I'm cutting down on a garden. Today we're planting onions, and I want to show you how to get big onions. You know the onions you buy at the grocery store, the big ones. I want to show you how to get those. First off, there are two types of onions you can get at your feed seed. The first one are these. And I'm planting both kinds today. The first ones are these. Okay? I call them onion sets. And that's what they call them at the feeding seed too. It's what's been called in my family my whole life. They're planted so you plant them bulb down. Now I'm going to show you how to do this without bending over to do it. My little back just can't take all that bending. And I'm going to show you how to do this without bending over. The only time you'll have to bend over with these onions is when you harvest them. Okay, I haven't figured out a way to harvest onions without bending over. I may come up with that later if I get to where I can't. But right now I can pull my tractor over close and put my hand on the bucket of the tractor and bend over and pick them up, pull them out of the ground, because onions aren't seated in the ground real tight, because most of the onion grows kind of on top of the ground. So, but what are these onions good for? Well, these onions will make an onion, that big around the head. Some of them might get bigger, just depends, but most of them, these little bitty ones, the little ones like that, will get bigger than these. Okay, these won't get much bigger than what they are. They're great for green onions, but you still get this white top. They'll get a little bit bigger, but not enough to worry about. But now the littler ones, they'll get quite a bit bigger. So, but they don't get nearly as big as the ones at the that you buy at the grocery store. So these onions are good for green onions. They're good like scallions. We cut them up, cut the tops up, cut the bottoms up. We use the bottoms and the tops and all of it. Use the whole thing and put them in the freezer, and they're great that way. Now, this is how you get big onions. These are called onion slips. And I'm going to pull one out here so you can see. These are called onion slips. Now, the sets, I think, were $1.75 a pound. And what I've got in this bag here is about 2 pounds of them. Okay, that'll plant a 100-foot row. And I plant them only about 3 or 4 inches apart. And I'll show you why here in just a second. But these right here, these are onion sets. Okay, you've got the top and you've got the bottom and the onions on there. Now what'll happen is these, you got to get them in the ground in early March. This is March the 20th. This is the equinox. That's when I like to plant onions, on the equinox. The sign is right for to plant them. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to plant these. I garden by the sign sometimes when I can. Luckily, if I had missed the equinox, I'd plant these the next day or the day after, okay? But they come like this in a bundle. Now this bundle is $5. $5.35. And I bought 3 bundles. 3 bundles will be enough to do a 100-foot row or close to it. Now, if you think about that, these are $1.75, and what I'll get is about 8 or 9 freezer bags full, 1 gallon freezer bags full of a combination of white and green onions. These, I bought three varieties. I bought, see which variety this one is. Well, it doesn't say. I bought Texas, a Spanish, a white Spanish, and then I bought a red onion. I thought this would say on it, but it said on the back, on the box I got them out of, but it doesn't say here on the package. So anyway, I bought these. I bought a Spanish one, and I think this is a Texas sweet. I bought a Spanish one, and I bought a red one. And these will give me, each one of these will make almost a pound onion. Okay, and I'm going to plant these about 8 inches apart down this row. So there's going to be average probably 2 a foot. I'll probably get some 6 inches, some 8, some 10. All right, it's going to probably about 2 onions a foot. So there'll be 100 onions down that row. Well, or excuse me, 200 onions down that row, or a little less, maybe 150. Well, if each onion is a pound, wow. What about if each onion is a half a pound? Well, I've got 125 and 150 onions down through there, and they're a half a pound apiece. Yeah, you can see how many onions I'm going to have to put in the freezer. It'll be all we want. But what we do is we just chop them up, put them in the freezer, and keep them that way. We don't try and store them as onions in the basement, because it just stinks our whole basement up. We just don't want to do that. So I'm going to take and show you how to plant these. Now, how do I plant them? I plant both sets of onions with a PVC pipe, which this PVC pipe has got a dirt dauber nest down in it, and it's pretty hard. I'll have to put something down in there and break that out. What I do is I take this, put it in the ground, push the dirt to the side, and drop the onion down through here, and then it goes in the hole, and then you just fill it up. And I'll show you how to do that. It's not rocket science. This is cut at about a 30-degree angle. Okay, so it's just 30 degrees on this side. So I guess I should say this is probably cut at a 120 degree, 150 degree angle right here. See, this would be 180 straight pipe, so this is a 150 degree angle this is cut at from this side. So, alright. So that's what we're going to do, and then we'll fertilize them, and I'll show you the fertilizing when we get to it. So my first task is I've got to get this dirt dauber nest out of my pipe. It hasn't been used since we planted onions the last time. So I'll get at that, and then we will get at planting some onions. Now here is my garden all plowed. Now right through here, this row and this row and this row, those were all planted in beans. So they're perfect for putting onions in. Over here, a little further, this row and this row, they had potatoes in them. So they would be fine for putting onions in. So what I'm going to do is I am probably going to come up right here and put onions right here, and then come over and put onions right there. I want to leave a wide row so that I can plow between my onions. It just makes life so much simpler. And that's part of reducing my garden a little. Make it easier for me for this year. So let's get over here in the garden and show you how to plant some of these onions. Now let's start off with these. Okay, these are just onion sets. I've got different sizes. This one's too big to go in the pipe. Okay, this is just a 1-inch piece of PVC pipe. Okay, so this one's too big to go in the pipe. So if I've got one that's too big to go in the pipe, all I do is I come right here and I make the hole, and then I just drop it. See it go right down in there? Then I can cover it up and it'll come up just like it's supposed to. Now, with these others, I just come over about 6 inches, make a hole, drop the onion, and see, there it is. I just drop it right down the pipe, and there it is. Do it again. Drop the onion, and there it was. And the way you drop them, you just drop them like this. Okay, so that the pointy end is sticking up and the root end is sticking down, and it always goes in there like it's supposed to. So I'm going to get down this row. Now, one of the best things you can do for yourself is to have great big old pockets like on my bib overalls, or have a carpenter's apron. That is a handy little gadget in the garden. So I'm going to put my carpenter's apron on and get at that. Just so you know, I use white ones, red ones, and yellow ones. Got my carpenter's apron on and got it filled up. And let's put some in the ground. Okay, that's what's involved in planting onion sets. I've planted about 1/3 of a row. That was one package, one pocket full of my carpenter's apron. I let my back rest here a minute. Plant another 1/3, and then another 1/3. Then I'll show you what to do with the other onions. Okay, 100 feet of onions in the sets. Now, why do I plant them 4 inches apart? Well, onion sets are not going to develop big heads. So 4 to 6 inches is fine. Why do I do it that way? Well, because I've got an onion hoe. This is an onion hoe. Okay? It's a homemade onion hoe. Tractor Supply sells this hoe and it's wide like other hoes. But my boys, for Father's Day, cut it down till this is only 2.5 inches wide. They cut it with a plasma cutter. So this is 2.5 inches wide. So if I plant them 4 to 6, there's still plenty of room to get this hoe in between the onions and tend them. And if I happen to get one too close, I can still use these tines and tend around them. Now let's plant big onions. It's time to do big onions. So I've got them here in my pouch. Here's what we're talking about. They come and they're kind of stuck together. I kept them watered. Now, one thing that you need to know is dropping these down through this tube. I would sure like to be able to do that. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of times, here's my tube and here's my onion. See how bent it is? Now sometimes you can straighten that onion out enough to make it go down the tube better. But sometimes it's just as quick to just go down the row, drop a few of these and put them in. Let me show you. I can take this onion that I've straightened, do it like this, move the dirt to the side, drop that onion, and right there it is, ready to cover. And you don't want to put them too deep. Be certain at the end of this I'm going to put tips for making these come out better. Now, here's one that's really curved. I'll break it if I try and straighten it. Okay, it's really, really curved. So all I'll do is I'll just drop it and then take the end of this, push it down right in that nice soft dirt. And there it is. Okay, so it's just as easy to go down through there and drop them and just push them in. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go down through here and drop a bunch, push them in, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, there they are. 2 100-foot rows of onions put in. Now, what's next? Well, they got to have a little fertilizer. This is granular 10-10-10. Now, if you go to our Facebook page, there's a sheet on there that shows you how much fertilizer for a 100-foot row. Okay? But these onions are heavy feeders, so it's going to take about 4 pounds of fertilizer. Well, the good thing about fertilizer is for every ounce volume is an ounce in weight. So that's the way it's made. So this is a 20-ounce cup, so this is 20 ounces of fertilizer when it's full to the top. You see what it is. I'm not advertising for nobody. But, okay, this is 1.25 pints, or 20 fluid ounces. So where it's filled up to right now is about a pound. So it'll take about 4 of these to fertilize these onions. So let's get down here and fertilize them. Okay, about 4 pounds of 10-10-10 fertilizer. That's all I'll put on for the year. Okay? All. Now, the onion sets get the same. They get about 4 pounds of fertilizer. Now, those 3 bundles of onions did this whole 100-foot row and about 25 feet of another row. So I'll fertilize that 25 feet. It'll get about a pound of fertilizer on it. Now, in just a minute, I'll give you all a few tips about growing these big onions and maintaining them. Okay, let's talk about raising onions and big onions. Now, I promise you some tips. First off, keep your rows really, really straight. If you don't make your rows really straight, it's hard to tend them. It'll cause you to have to do a whole lot more hoeing. I like to plow through with my tiller beside the onions, but you can't get too close or you'll interfere with their roots. So if you get your rows unstraight, it makes it really hard to run the tiller down by them and cultivate them correctly. Second, never plant them too deep. You'll notice when I put those in, I didn't push them in, but say that far. If you plant them too deep, they don't fill out as well, or they make elongated onions. You can come back later and pull a little dirt out from around them if you want to, but I don't like to do that, so I just don't plant them real deep. When it comes to the onion sets, I plant them between 4 and 6 inches apart. You saw my onion hoe. I plant these 8 inches apart, 6 to 8 inches apart. Because at 8 inches apart, if it's a 3-inch diameter onion, then that's 1.5 inches on each side. There's still room for me to get my onion hoe in between them and cultivate between them with the onion hoe and keep the weeds out. Number 3, or number 4, I guess. This is number 4. Keep the weeds out. If you don't keep the weeds out, you ain't going to get no onions. Okay, they're not going to get big. They're not going to be that useful to you. So you got to keep the weeds out. By July, these are the onions that we plant here in Kentucky. They can either be long day onions or intermediate day onions. Most of the times it's intermediate day onions. So, however it is, long day, short day, that doesn't matter. Northern climates do short day onions and southern climates do long day onions, or maybe I've got that backwards. I'm not certain. You can look it up. But the deal is with onions is it doesn't matter if they're short day, long day. The providers in your area give you the onions that fit your area. Okay, these were Bonnie Plants. Bonnie Plants sells here in Kentucky. There's several others that sell here in Kentucky, and they know whether we need long day, short day, or intermediate day onions. But plant them early. To get big onions, you need to plant your onions early. This is the spring equinox. It's the first time I've had a chance to get out here and get this plowed. The rest of the time it's been too wet, but we got a dry spell, and I was able to get out here and get this plowed in time to do it. And so I've planted them now on the spring equinox, which the signs were favorable for planting onions today, because the moon is getting less and less. It's waning. However you want to say it, the moon is waning instead of waxing. We're going toward the new moon. Now, the other thing about onions is you need, if you're going to use the method that I use, the one where you just push the onion in, if this dirt is not good and soft, if it's wet, you can't do that. You'll break your onion heads. If you break them, they're not going to form the leaves that it needs to. The reason you need to plant early is the onion needs to have time to put on more leaves. The more leaves the onion puts on, the more layers. The more layers the onion has. The more leaves, the more layers. So you want to plant them early, because once July gets here, once late June, early July gets here, once we get to the summer solstice, your onions will start getting big. They'll start putting on mass. Okay? The layers inside will get thicker and thicker, and that's what makes the big onions. All right, not anything else. So you need your onions to get in the ground soon enough that they form more leaves, more leaves, more leaves, and more leaves. Okay? Each leaf is a layer of onion. So you need to get them in the ground early. And fertilizer. Onions are heavy feeders, but you don't have to break the bank with fertilizer. Our fertilizer, I think, is $14 a bag, 50-pound bag. I used 4 pounds on each row of onions here. 4 pounds. So I used 8 pounds of fertilizer for 2 rows of onions. My fertilizer costs about 30 cents a pound. It's $15 for 50 pounds. So it costs about 30 cents a pound. Well, I used 4 pounds down through there. So I spent about $15 for all those onions, for the onion sets, the ones that make the big onions. And they'll give me about a half a pound onion a piece. And we've probably got 150 onions down this row. Between 150 and 200. And then I've got 25 foot more back here. So we're talking close to 200 onions. So we're talking about 100 pounds worth of onions that I'm going to get out of that. Well, at the store, it's, what, 2 pounds for $3? So in other words, it's $1.50 a pound. 100 pounds. So I've got $150 worth of onions or better for about 20 bucks. I can't complain about that. It'll cost a little bit more because I'll have to plow through here and stuff, but that's not a big deal. So then I've got my green onions over here. I'll get pounds and pounds of those They were only like $1.75 a pound for them, and I only bought 2 pounds, so I've got $3 invested in those onion sets, and they're going to give me 9 or 10 gallons worth of onions. So yeah, there'll be plenty of onions here on the homestead. I won't have to worry about it as long as I do the things I told you. Keep the weeds out. Weeds are a big thing. And onions are heavy feeders, but I only have to fertilize this one time. That slow release fertilizer will last me right into July, and it'll be July, late July, August when I pull these onions out. And when I pull them out, what will I do? I'll immediately plant 6-week beans in their place. The 6-week beans will put more nitrogen right back in the soil. Now, if you like this stuff, this homesteading, do-it-yourself kind of thing, be certain to come on out to the channel and subscribe. We do this homesteading stuff every week, sometimes 1, sometimes 5 videos. Just depends on what's going on in the homestead that week. Now, if you hit the little bell when you come to the channel, it'll notify you when we upload a video. We upload every Sunday. Now, with that being said, it's time for me to get on to the next thing.